And so let me just see if I do have Timsy on air with us, because she's the one who broke that story. That is
Hello?
Donald Trump going in to cast his vote. That is Donald Trump going in to cast his vote. We'll keep that footage alive. But Timsy, congratulations, because you got it right this afternoon. So congratulations to you. Just very quickly, for the benefit of our viewers who are just joining in, take us through what you did pick up. The Financial Intelligence Unit saying that suspicious transactions had gone up almost 13 times over the past 5 years. And so the FIU had written to the Finance Ministry saying that they must act on the recommendations of the SIT.
Yes. What I heard from my sources was very clearly that in the last 5 years, the suspicious transactions have increased almost 13 times, rising from 17,000 to almost 2.23 lakh transactions in the last 5 years. If you split it, you come to know that every 15 minutes, probably there is one suspicious transaction happening in the country. And what are these suspicious transactions? According to the definition which FIU picks it up, is that where the identity of the client is either fraud or fudged, or the transaction is conducted by someone who is on the watch list of the Interpol or has criminal records. Now, they also track transactions which have unexplained transfers made in multiple accounts with no rationale, or the nature of the transaction is doubtful because of the value of the transaction, that they are just below the thresholds for the reporting standards. Now, these transactions, FIU says, are always used either for money laundering or for financing terrorism. Now, these two are the biggest challenges in front of the government today, that is black money and terrorism. And when you see what PM Modi has also said, it is the exactly same thing, that to put into perspective that the data and solid intelligence numbers are there, there's proper, this report is guarded and is confidential. And when you come across this report, FIU very clearly points out that public sector banks, cash withdrawals made through public sector banks are generating the maximum amount of these transactions. Almost 68% of these transactions which have been reported as suspicious have been conducted through public sector banks by making cash withdrawals, which is why the SIT recommendation for banning cash transactions above 3 lakhs and cash holding of above 15 lakhs is very important. And FIU recommendations, FIU reports make a strong case for curbing black money and the recommendations made by SIT. I also pick up from my sources of just before this call, I spoke to a few of my sources, and they said this budget do expect SIT recommendation to be implemented.
Yes, we did have Justice M.B. Shah online with us, Timsy, and he said that this was a move that adequately addresses the concerns that the SIT has raised. But Timsy, once again, for the benefit of our viewers who are joining in, Timsy reported on the Financial Intelligence Unit writing to the Finance Ministry today at 2:45 and said in her report that the FIU had raised the red flag, suggesting that suspicious transactions were up 13 times over the past 5 years, and hence the FIU wanted the government to act on the SIT's recommendations, and the SIT's recommendation was essentially to move away from cash transactions to cashless, at least high-value cashless transactions. Timsy, very quickly, what more are you picking up from your sources now in terms of perhaps the operational guidelines?
My sources are very clearly saying that now, with this, these are slowly steps that will be taken towards a formal decision coming in the budget. And we are also picking up from I'm also picking up from my sources that these banning of cash transactions will ultimately lead to the plan of cashless economy, which was a discussion paper moved by Department of Economic Affairs long back, saying that we should move towards a cashless economy and try and give some benefits to the customers for using plastic money, either in form of revenue, either in form of tax incentives or something. But Revenue Department raised a red flag saying tax incentives cannot be given upfrontly. Thus, this is a second move that Finance Ministry has now come up with, that since there are suspicious transactions which are used primarily for money laundering, that is generating black money, and terror financing. So to curb
Yeah.
this, they want
Okay,
to make
Timsy.
handling of cash very, yeah.
And that's exactly what they've done. Thanks very much, Timsy.